Hi, Dead Bob.
Hi. How's it going, Candace?
I'm good. I'm not nearly as tired as you.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm so tired. I am just so tired today.
You're near dead Dumbledore right now.
Yeah, basically. I am exhausted from doing absolutely nothing today.
Nothing today. You woke up, you put clothes on.
Well, to be fair, Frolf punched me to wake me up.
Did you take a nap, though, later?
I was going to, but I don't usually get to anymore, which is really not great for me because I do like to nap.
You love a nap.
I do love a nap. Like a short nap, like a 4 or 5 hour nap. Nothing too crazy.
I thought I was bad. I jokingly call mine, like, baby naps, because I'm like, oh, they're going to be small. And then Kyle's like, your baby nap is 2 hours long.
If a nap is not at least an hour and a half, it's not worth it.
I completely agree. Kyle's like, oh, just a good 20 minutes underneath the REM cycle.
He's like Jessica. Jessica can go lay down. That's my sister, by the way. For all of you, not for Candace. She knows Jess's. She can go lay down for like 30 minutes and she's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm rejuvenated.
No, I am absolutely not. It's like it needs to be.
I'd be lucky if I even fell asleep in 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, it takes me like 30 to 40 minutes to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then I'm good to go. Okay.
Sorry, we had to stop for a second. Candace had to go beat up her dogs.
No, Kyle had to calm them downstairs.
Servant Kyle.
They're having a day today. Potato really wanted my noodles. And then I was like, no noodles for you. You're a puppy.
Noodles, yeah.
So
yeah, forgive us. We're both tired. We got
it's and like I don't know, I shouldn't be this tired. Today we had like a delayed opening, so I got to just do emails at home in the morning because of the snow. And then so only 5 hours in the archives.
It doesn't help that every time we get to record it's always like at night.
I mean, if you want to get up early and meet me at the archives.
Actually, that would be kind of fun.
We could do that.
I would do that, yeah.
I think it's definitely haunted. Ever since I watched Archives 81, I'm even more certain that things live in media.
And you're just surrounded by it.
And I'm surrounded by media.
Yeah, all day long.
All day long.
So
I'm like, I have a bunch of microfilm. I'm like, there's probably stuff there. Haunted books.
I mean, some of the stories you told me about, even like the clothes and stuff, don't get into it now because we should do an episode on it.
We can do that.
Yeah, we should do an episode on shit that lives in media.
Haunted artifacts.
Yes.
We definitely have some, and people have heard and seen things in the archives, and that's why I refuse to like be there too late at night by myself.
Understandably.
I get just really freaked out. Like the other day, I was so angry because I left work and I just got AirPods for Christmas and I was really happy about it. And it tells you, it's like so smart. It's like, you left your AirPods at a location.
It sounds like a horror movie type thing.
And I was like, oh no, I thought I put them in my bag. And it was like, they're at the Methodist Archives. And I was like, oh fuck. And I just got home too.
Oh, they'd be
so
there,
I had to like, but then I was like, are they on my desk or did I like drop them on my way to the car? So I was worried. So I drove back to work.
It doesn't show you like an exact location.
The exact location was like outside the doors of the building. And I was like, I don't know if like the location was weird or if it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll go back to work. And it was then no one was there.
Oh, God.
And so I like ran in, unlocked the doors, put the code in, ran to my office, saw the AirPods were there, grabbed them, threw in my bag, and ran out.
Oh, my God. Saw like 16 ghosts.
Yeah, no, I was just like, if I see
killer.
something, I'm...
That's terrifying, actually. That creeps me out.
That does... Yeah, well, the worst is like when my... the older... Not older boss. One of my there's a guy who worked there previously. He said when he was closing up, you could like see the security monitor, and it will tell you like when things are like when there's movement in the building, and the movement kept moving along. So like he was the only one in the building, but it was like you're at Mark 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm done," and I locked up and left.
Horror movie.
Yeah, and so I always think about that when I'm like putting the code in because it will tell you it's like if there's movement and then you can't lock up because there's movement in the building. And I'm like, if there's fucking movement in this building.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Right? I'm constantly... So I try to always like leave just after 5 before anyone else leaves. So, so like there's always somebody else who has to lock up because I don't want to be in there
stuck
alone.
Waiting for the ghosts.
No, I'm not a fan, and which is But we'll definitely talk about the archives in a future episode.
They are an episode worthy situation.
At least one. We could probably even like record it in the tunnel
Yeah, I'm like, well, there'd be so much echo. I don't know if we could do that.
It'd be scary though.
It would be, but it'd be so annoying to listen to.
We'll see what happens. But
yeah. Well, today we're not talking about the archives at Drew University. We are instead, today's episode is called Worst Ways to Die.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, 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 bum. Yes. Which we thought would be kind of interesting, and turns out we both approached this very differently.
Different minds.
Yeah, you have how many of them?
Well, I focused primarily on the fear of being buried alive. Okay. So, because that to me creeps me out a lot. Okay. So I have a couple of interesting stories about people who either escaped being buried alive or who didn't.
Okay. I just started writing things down that creep me out in ways that I don't want to die.
So it's a very personal account for you.
It's not truly the worst ways to die, it's the worst ways for me to die. Oh! Okay. That's kind of what I went with.
Okay.
So yeah, why don't we... So, I mean, I was just going to spitball them back and forth for an episode, but I think you have a little bit more structure than I do.
Well, no. I want to know, like, what is... not a priority, because you don't want to die, but what is the number one worst way that you would die?
The worst
like
way?
What, like, on your list of worst ways for Robert to die, which one?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh no, that's not a tough one. I know exactly which one. So I have this irrational fear. I've had nightmares about this.
Okay.
Where like my hand gets like caught in like a factory type equipment type thing, and it like sucks my arm in, and or like you've never had this fear? You've never heard of like?
No, I've heard of people getting caught in
people
things.
Die like this every year. Like a lot of people, like 700 some odd people die this way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like there was a kid. One of the stories that I pulled. Well, I didn't pull a story. One of the things I pulled was this poor kid in the Philippines. He was like 18 years old, and he got sucked like head first into a meat grinder.
Oh my god!
And died. Well, obviously he died. He got sucked head first into a meat grinder. But like, yeah, like I've had like, because like the thing is like, what makes it so scary to me is that like it's not like stupidity on anybody's part. Like,
it's machinery's fault.
But like it could be like, you know, like you turn your head really quickly and like some of your hair gets caught in it and it pulls you in, or like a sleeve, a piece of clothing, like a shoelace, something like that. Like you hear like those people who've been like pulled into like escalators, yeah. Because
I fell down an escalator once. Yeah, and I had to go to the hospital.
Probably because you fell down the equivalent of 16 staircases. Just coming back up.
It wasn't it wasn't like a tumble situation.
Oh, gotcha.
It was that I fell down so hard because I was running up them because this is like a stupid thing. Like as a kid, I was so my brother decided he was going to run like up and down this escalator when we were at the mall once, and I was like, Philip, if you do this, you're going to get hurt. So I was running to be like, don't get hurt. And then guess what happens?
And then showed him how to get hurt.
I showed him how to get hurt. So I fell down so hard on my right knee that I punctured it. So I have like a butterfly mark on my right kneecap, and the blood just wouldn't stop. Oh and God. I had to go to the hospital, and there was no stitches. It wasn't like that deep, but like it was awkward and it was awful.
Yeah, I don't like that for you.
No, I can still see the scar though.
Really? I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
It was bad. But I was afraid of escalators for a very long time.
I mean, to be fair, they're kind of terrifying.
I mean, elevators are not the fun way. I mean, think about plummeting to your death in an elevator.
I have thought of that before, and that is terrifying.
I think this episode is just going to rekindle a lot of anxieties that I've have buried for a long time.
Getting hit by a plane. Ever thought of that one?
I'm sorry, like a plane crash or getting hit by a plane?
Both.
So you're just like what, like in a random field, and you're like, oh, there's a plane.
Yeah, but like, have you ever thought about like you're just like laying in bed and you're like, what if a plane is like in nosedive situation, people screaming like it's going down, and I'm just sitting here like head on the pillow, and I'm like in the path, you know, like.
Well, I don't
like
think
where it's gonna hit.
You wouldn't probably like recognize what's happening, so it would happen so quickly.
I mean, I would hope so.
I don't think it would be an agonizing death for you.
I would hope not.
But no, I've never... if I did, I never gave it too much thought about, okay, this plane is going to come out of the sky and, like, nosedive into me.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, at that point, I feel like you've basically been chosen for death by fate. But, like, still.
Like a Final Destination kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, most of these are going to be a Final Destination.
Is that like,
kind of
was that a
thing.
giant fear for you? Kind of like...
Getting hit by a plane?
No, like the Final Destination movies, like were they kind of like, oh yeah, this is how, like this is the worst way to die, like a tanning bed, or like, you know, when like...
The tanning bed one I didn't like. I think that one's stupid. But like the opener of that one, the second movie...
Was that the one where the thing comes off the truck?
The logs?
Yeah.
I've seen so many memes about people being behind those things and being like, whoop, guess it's my day to die.
Yeah.
But I still, I mean, to this day, if I see one of those on the highway, I can't drive behind them.
Oh no, I always move to a different lane, but I'm like, wait, what if it bounces over?
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, I can't be here. I'm
No.
not going out like this. I'm not going to be that blonde girl flying out of the damn fucking sunroof of the SUV. It's not going to be me.
No,
thank you.
That movie is probably a great focus on worst ways to die for people, but they get pretty
absolutely.
creative though. It's not just like...
I mean, yeah. Some of them I think are a little bit scarier than others because there's like a realism factor.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other ones are obviously like death has to like do all these things, like he's turning on the frickin' faucets and the heat and everything else to make things happen. But
So like, do you think a lot of your fears about worst ways to die are related to like reality, like you were saying, like this could easily happen to me, or are they like, okay, a plane's gonna nosedive and hit me in the face?
I think they're like rooted in reality, but then because it's like, you know, it's your brain scaring itself, they do become a little bit
augmented, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, like, but they're not like completely whatchamacallit, irrational or something like that. Like for example, another one of mine is the concept of being eaten alive. That is terrifying to me.
By what?
Well, like realistically,
Like a bunny?
No. I'm not scared of a bunny eating me.
A little rabbit going
like I put down, see, this is where it gets a little bit fantastical.
Dragon.
No, I put Megalodon.
Okay.
Because I was not a medieval studies major like you were. But like a shark, a lion, that's fucking scary as all hell. Even like a bobcat or a bear. Like that's like the concept of like being eaten alive would be so painful.
Yeah, it would be agonizing.
It would be terrible. And it's not necessarily quick.
No, I do have I feel bad, but I do have a fear of sharks because I know that they don't go for humans, and it's like they've only been demonized because of the book Jaws and then the movie, you know, miniseries.
I do feel like everybody should have a healthy fear of sharks.
I think is I don't, because like I'm noticing like how they actually function, like they really don't go after people.
No, I mean I'm not saying that everybody should be like, oh my god, like I don't really believe in like the whole like
finning and all
like,
that.
and like
no.
going after them. I respect, like, if I always say to people, I don't like to really go in the ocean because I'm like, I'm not meant to be in there. You know.
See, I can swim in there all day long. I'm like, just don't touch me, I won't touch you.
Give me a swimming pool. I need to be able to see what the fuck I'm doing. I don't really love the ocean that much, if I'm honest. The ocean scares me. Whales scare me. I have an irrational fear of whales.
So you don't like big fish or big mammals?
No. Well, because whales jump out of the ocean.
Yeah, to breathe.
No, like they jump. So not just like they come up and like, you know, do the
Little breach.
Like, you know, like the whole thing they do where they're like, you know, but like, you know, it's just like, like I'm talking about when they literally like just like full on jump out of the water and then just like belly flop back in.
Oh, so you don't like the belly flop?
I don't like it at all.
So when you went to SeaWorld, you were like...
I've never been to SeaWorld, but...
okay.
I don't like killer whales either. I actually really detest killer whales because I really love seals, and I don't like the way that they play with their food.
I love seals so much.
Killer whales are like the douchebags of the ocean.
They're shit fuckers.
Yeah, they fuck with their food.
And I know.
They'll play with a seal, not intending to eat it, but they'll like kill it because they're like, you know,
they're having a good time.
Yeah, I don't like them.
No, they're like the serial killers of the sea.
Yes.
The serial killers.
They look like the ghost face of the ocean.
They do. You know, I'm not a fan of them. I mean, I'm not hating on Free Willy, but...
I am. He should never have gotten
I love seals. One of my favorite creatures in the entire world is a blind seal. Her name is Lucille, and she lives at
that's so funny.
The aquarium in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, Jenkinson's Aquarium.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I went there when I'm very young, and that's when she got adopted by the aquarium because she was attacked by a shark. So she was blind in one eye from the attack, and over the years, seals get cataracts, so she's basically blind now. But she loves swimming, and I love watching her swim. And she's my favorite.
They're really, really cute.
They're the dogs of the ocean.
Yeah, and I'm a really big sucker for really cute animals. So, and whales are not cute. They're just big, and they take up too much space, and they land on people in kayaks. And I'm afraid that that's how I'm going to die one day, which will never happen because I will never be in a kayak on the ocean.
What about if a plane nosedived when you were kayaking in the ocean and hit you there?
I mean, at that point, again, I was selected to die.
This was the moment.
Yeah. Ooh, that, talking about the ocean, that reminded me of one that I didn't write down, and I'm actually kind of surprised. Tsunamis.
Oh, that's terrifying.
A terrible way to die. That's an absolutely terrible way to die.
Natural disasters, I think, are absolutely frightening.
I mean, I agree. Like a tornado.
I was terrified of tornadoes as a kid.
I'm still terrified of tornadoes. They scare the bejesus out of me because, nobody likes the concept of the sky coming on down to get you. It's not supposed to happen.
No. It's not.
What the fuck is that shit about?
I don't like tornadoes. I think they're absolutely terrifying. Like that movie Twister.
Yeah.
Worst fear.
Oh my God. I watched that so much in the 90s.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It was one of my dad's favorite movies.
We got cows. I love that movie.
They have a Twister ride experience at Universal Studios in Florida, and
it scared the shit out of me.
So scary.
It did not help that my step siblings told me that what they were going to do is it was supposed to, they were just trying to freak me out, so they told me it was like the end of the movie where they go into that like weird little like slaughterhouse shack thing and belt themselves to that pole.
Oh.
So they told me it was like that's what it's going to be. You're going to go in there, they're going to put the friggin' straps on you, and then they're going to turn the wind on. I was so afraid all day of going on that ride. And it was like, I will say this, because I did that ride in the summer of, it's probably either 1999 or 2000. And when I did it, it was like the cows would like fly across the stage, but you could see the strings. And like, it was just not a great experience when I did it. But yeah, not nearly as scary as what I thought it was going to be.
It's still like, I don't enjoy the concept, or I'm happy we don't live in like Tornado Valley or whatever it's called.
Tornado Alley.
Alley? Okay. I don't want to live there.
No, me either.
No.
So quickly.
Yes.
Why do people who live in Tornado Alley not have basements?
They don't have basements?
They don't have basements. A lot of their houses don't have basements, but then they spend $10,000 and get tornado bunkers. Why?
So they do have a way to get away from the tornado.
Well, some people buy the bunkers. A lot of people, what they do is there's like shelters in town, like the school.
Oh.
But I'm like, if
it comes quickly or something.
Yeah, well, but like tornadoes move really fast.
Yeah.
And they can be like, sometimes they can be like a mile wide. Yeah, they can be gigantic.
Oh no.
And like, so could you imagine being like, oh, there's a mile wide tornado on the ground. Better hop in the car, head on over to the school.
You don't have time.
You don't have time. Not at all. They can form really quickly too. So.
Don't love that.
I know a lot about tornadoes because I have an irrational feeling that I'll die in one. So it's like... I
feel like you're going to need a lot of relaxing agents after this conversation today, because you're going to be because it's just going to be like all these ways that you have been afraid to die.
Yeah. See, my problem is that I'll go home, I'll take an edible, and then
research tornadoes.
No, but the thing is, with my luck, something kind of like a natural disaster will happen. I'll be like halfway through an edible experience, and I'll be like, "Oh no, this sucks, man!" Like, just like, I could see that happening. Although, if I was gonna die that way, I think I would want to be stoned off my ass.
You'd be good. You wouldn't really have to like.
I'd
be
like,
super
"This
nervous.
sucks," but I feel like I'm floating right now. Do you know we're made of the same stuff stars are? And they get hit by a plane.
And
right
in the middle of a tornado.
In the middle of a tornado.
On the ocean.
And a whale tried to save me by jumping up but accidentally lands on me.
I would be so proud of you if that's how you die.
I mean, it would definitely
it'd make
get a lot of attention.
Guinness World Records, you would...
Of worst death.
Worst death.
Or
Robert.
most guaranteed death ever.
But what if you survived it?
I guess that would be really interesting. I guess I could, depending on if the whale actually took the hit for me.
It could. The whale took
the hit. Then I'll have to start like some kind of charity or like something like that for the
Save
whales.
the whales.
Yeah.
What a life for you.
Yeah, right?
A future.
We just totally planned out that's my 5-year plan. Let's do one of yours. What did you write?
Okay, so as I said, I really kind of focused on being buried alive.
I have 2 that fit in with that.
Good.
I just mean well, never mind. I'll just keep them to my fucking self.
I don't know why I was focused on it either, because I never really thought about being buried alive. It's not like I was like, oh man, I don't want to be.
I mean, it's scary.
I think it's a scary concept, and we'll go through some of these stories. It's because, like, you don't know how you get there, because a lot of people are like in a coma or something's going on. So you wake up in an unfamiliar place. You realize then you're in a very small box, probably underground.
All right, really quickly, sorry, not to cut you off. Could you imagine, though, if you were in a coma and they decided to cremate you? Do you feel it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's
terrifying.
Well, I think it matters.
That's a worse way to die.
That is it. Like if you are, like if you're like, awake kind of a coma, or is it like if you're like.
Well, they've done studies where they're finding that they feel like a lot of people who are in comas are more aware of what's going on than we realize.
Oh.
And like my mom, when she got sick and she was like in an induced type situation, she told us that she remembered more of what was going on than we thought she would have. It's a little different.
Like she like knew like when the nurses were coming and like the doctors and when you were there or something.
She was also on a lot of drugs at the time, obviously. So at one point, I don't know, actually, she might have been awake at this point. I can't remember, but this is a funny story anyway, so I'll tell it. She thought there was like this thing at the end of her bed that like would inflate and then compress. And when we were there, she was like kind of very out of it because she was on so many things. And I guess she must have been awake because I think we were talking to her at this point. But she was like so concerned about something and we couldn't figure it out. And we thought she was like mad at Kevin or something like that. He was like near it. She told us later that she thought there was a shotgun at the end of her bed. And she was very concerned about it. And she was trying to make us aware of the very deadly shotgun at the end of the bed. But we were like, what the fuck is going on?
Just like a loaded shotgun pointing at her?
I don't know I don't know. I just know that she was very concerned and she thought there was a shotgun at the end of her bed, but it was a very funny story. Yeah, what were we talking about before that?
Buried alive.
Oh yeah, but like comas and like, but then my thing is this, like, because if you're cremated, like that's real.
You can't come back from that.
Well, no, you don't come back from that.
You can't. Well.
So like if you're in a coma and they think you're dead or something like that, or they think you're dead.
I got some on that.
About being cremated?
No, but I was thinking of that too because my death plan was thinking like, okay, I want to be cremated and then like you can scatter my ashes on the ocean, or if they allow it, can put me on a raft like my body
like a Viking.
Yeah, like a Viking funeral, and Kyle will get like a certain amount of arrows, and if he fucks up, he's gonna be super embarrassed.
Well, we could just put something on there that we could press a button so he could fire, and then we go like, just press the button.
Yeah, and then that's where I go. I think that that's my preferred way.
That's how my grandmother wanted to be buried.
And what did you do?
We did not do that because she wanted to do it like on the Passaic.
No, she didn't.
They're like, Mima, there's no bodies of water around here. She's like, just go to the Passaic. It'll be fine. I was like, I can't just like in people's backyards.
Drag her through her backyard. Literally. On a raft in the Passaic.
Yeah, she was like, it'll be fine.
With like the weird swamp fish that have like 5 limbs.
Yeah, oh my god. The giant freaking carp that live in there too.
No, I'm like saying ocean, please. I want.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the ocean I think is a little bit more.
It's conducive to this plan.
I mean, sure, until it washes up on like somebody's backyard.
Well, that's half the fun for me. You know I would enjoy that.
It's not for them.
But I was thinking about that, like if you're like in a comatose state and then they do then burn you because that was your wish to be cremated. That's it. If you were,
that's terrible, and you can't even move.
No.
I can't.
Could
you imagine
that's
panic?
probably one of the worst ways.
That's scary.
To be burned, I think, was.
And you can't warn somebody or sitting there like, I'm alive, don't do it. No,
I had because of a really fucking fucked up kid when I was little who teased me. This was before I moved to our town area.
So I was about to start spitballing names.
No. He would tell me that he was gonna like burn my family and me. So I was terrified of like dying by fire in our house.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was not a fun time for me. But like as a kid, I was terrified of like fire and like being burned.
That's good, yeah.
Because this kid would like torment me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you tell anybody?
Oh yeah. No, like there was like much discussion between my parents and his parents and
his
a therapist.
doctors.
And like it was like a big thing.
And him being strapped to a chair at a facility far away.
It was nightmarish. Yeah. But I'm no longer very scared of fire as I was. And buried alive, like, because that's not like my death plan. I'm not like super concerned about it, but I think it's a very terrifying way to go, especially because these reports mention what happens to the people in the caskets, and that's what's really creepy. So they say even to this day people are very afraid of being buried alive, and that there are even recent stories of people being buried alive. Really? Yeah. I'm not going to get into them too much because I always prefer older things. Okay, so, but there are stories in the 90s and the 2000s of people being buried alive.
Really? That recently?
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
How did they figure it out?
Oh, there's one story in here that is
by... They send you a pager number? Can you call me, please? Surprised you get started at 6 feet under.
But people are still extremely afraid of being buried alive, and it is listed as one of the worst ways to die, and people still talk about it a lot, and that there's that fear associated with it. But in the earlier days of medicine, it was really difficult for people to determine if someone was actually dead or not. The way that it was they were in a coma, they were maybe emaciated or paralyzed.
Sorry, just imagine the doctor being like, we're going to do a quick test and just slap him across the face.
Okay, about the quick test.
Is there a quick test?
There are tests. Oh okay.
Somebody's just slapping them across the face.
No, you're going to love this.
Oh, God.
Starting around the 18th century.
They check your genitals.
Close.
What?
Yeah.
What do they do?
Okay, so,
they show up like a burning poker up your ass? Is that one of them? No way!
Okay.
What sadistic fucking psycho thought, like, you know what? This will make sure Jeff's not faking. Jeff, we're heating up the poker. If you're awake, Jeff, now's your chance. And boom, hot poker up the ass.
It's not far off, Rob.
What did...
Okay,
sorry, I'll stop trying to guess and you just tell us.
You're spot on pretty, though. So around the 18th century, suspected corpses which I love that term, were subjected to abusive tests to establish death.
Oh my God.
It ranged from the fairly benign, being nipple pinching. Just a little pinch.
Jeff, you like that? How about if I do the left, Jeff? Into that one?
So if there was no response to the little nipple tweaks, then it went to hot pokers inserted in their rectums.
Oh.
So you were right on.
So no gray area in between.
No, there was no slap across the face.
Not like shaking them to be like, are you here?
No smelling salts. It was...
No Vicks vapor rub.
Nope.
Nothing like that.
Nipple tweaks and hot poker
up the rectum.
They
didn't respond to the nipple clamps, so we better just shove it. Basically with some weird dog with a BDSM fetish who was like, yeah, bring him in. I'll figure out if he's awake.
So they say if no complaints registered...
No complaints. Can you please take the fucking poker out of my ass?
Yeah. So if no one complained from that, then they were like, well, they must certainly be safe to presume them dead.
But like if you're in like a coma or something, you probably felt all of that but couldn't say anything.
Yeah, but this was medicine, Rob.
Was it?
Yeah, and this is great. So in 1846, laughter ensued when a French doctor by the name of Eugène Bouchou suggested the use of a new technique, which was using a stethoscope to listen for the heartbeat.
Well, good on him.
Good on him, but people were like, you're bonkers. Give me that hot poker to put up that rectum right now.
Don't ruin my fun. What's his name, Eugene?
Eugene, yeah.
Fuck you, Eugene. Some guy just standing there with like two hands, double fisting hot poker. Like, come on, Eugene. Who's really got a problem with this?
A lot of people did.
There's a couple survivors like, I can't shit anymore because my asshole is welded shut by a hot poker.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, for a long time, what the solution was. And
hot pokers and nipple clamps.
Hot pokers and nipple clamps.
A couple of people probably just faking dead. And that's how you can go see the doctor.
But that was the 19th century way, so just imagine how earlier centuries were dealing with it. It was just probably right in the ground. If they
probably. They're like, please don't bury me. Like, nope, it's a dead one. In you go.
She did.
Yeah. We need your house, Marjorie. Sorry, you gotta go.
So then I have a couple stories about kind of like the buried alive history. We're going to start with a 1937 account. So in France, there was a 19-year-old, and his name was Angelo Hayes, and he went for a motorcycle ride. Good on him, even though it's a little bit dangerous. So
I love how you're giving him support for going on a motorcycle.
So perhaps he had minimal knowledge on how to operate the motorcycle. He wasn't that great about it because he ended up crashing it and slamming it headfirst into a brick wall. Yeah.
Well, at least he didn't feel anything.
Yeah. But when help arrived, they found his head was mangled and he had no pulse.
Surprise.
He was so terrible to look at that his parents were kept from seeing him for their own good.
Oh my God.
He was declared dead and buried 3 days later. Due to an investigation, though, by an insurance company, the body of Angelo Hayes was exhumed 2 days after the funeral. It was quite the surprise to find that his body was still warm. Apparently, in the aftermath of the accident, his body put itself into a deep coma.
Smart.
And required very little oxygen to upkeep his system. After being buried alive, Hayes received proper medical care and went on to make a miraculous full recovery. He then invented a type of security coffin that he toured across France.
Don't blame him.
It was reported to contain a small oven, a refrigerator, and a hi-fi cassette player. Yeah.
Well, clearly he damaged something in the accident. Because if I was buried alive, the last thing I want is a refrigerator.
Yeah, but that was a priority for Angelo.
He was like, do you know how boring it was for 2 days?
He was very bored. So the reason that the insurance company kind of got involved.
Pain?
He must have been when he woke up because
if his face was that bad that the doctor's like, no.
But
don't even look at that.
His father took out a $200,000 francs policy on him like a week before.
Oh.
So that's why the insurance company kind of was like flagged, being like, is he even in there?
Did you murder your son?
Yeah. or they were wondering like, did you take the policy out and then like maybe like they're hiding Angelo or something? So they wanted to go to check to see like.
That was a lot of.
Good on the insurance agents.
We will never say that again. Very rarely do we ever go, good on insurance.
But they saved Angelo. Then he developed the smart coffin.
The smart coffin.
With the oven, the fridge, and the hi-fi cassette.
I don't think if I'm in a very enclosed space like that, especially one without a ventilation system, that I should be using an oven.
I know, right? You'd probably gas yourself to death.
Well, I'm assuming it's probably electric. But...
Probably. But then, like, you have to have a battery pack as well, then.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, if it gets really hot, like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, maybe just, like, fill your coffin with, like, Cliff Bars and water bottles.
Right? I think that's a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, and then maybe, like, a DVD player.
A DVD player, but no DVDs.
But no DVDs.
Because nobody has any anymore.
I'm going to request, like, a small TV and VHS tapes.
You want to hear an interesting way that somebody died buried alive?
VHS tapes.
It's not with VHS tapes. So I had a very weird. You were finished with Angelo, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah.
I had a very weird dream. Like, I want to say like a year and a half ago.
You witnessed somebody being buried alive in your dream?
No, my grandmother had mentioned that there was like a small sinkhole in her backyard. At one point that she just kept having to put like soil into until eventually like it stops sinking.
Okay.
But then I started thinking, I was like, God, that's terrifying. What if a sinkhole ever opened up under the house or something like that and like just sucked the house in, like that kind of
like a poltergeist situation?
Yeah, well yeah, in a sense. So I was like, that's terrifying, but I was like, that's so irrational, like whatever. So then I pulled out Google and it happened to a guy in Florida.
Like a sinkhole enveloped the house?
A sinkhole opened up under his house. The house collapsed and he was buried alive and died.
But you're in your house.
He was in his bed.
Oh.
Yeah. But like he was buried alive.
Oh.
Like that. Like that's terrifying, right?
Terrifying.
Like I'm not alone on that. Because like sinkholes in and of themselves can be really fucking scary.
Well, there was a whole fear when we were kids about quicksand, right? Oh, it's on your list?
Fun fact that I wrote down, because I wrote down a couple ways about how funny, scary ways that I thought I would die as a kid, and one of them was quicksand.
I blame cartoons, though, because so many of our cartoons in the 90s were like, if you go walking outside, there's gonna be quicksand.
It happened to a lot of our favorite cartoon characters.
And they're like, or like not even just cartoons too. It was like any movies too that was like a big adventure.
Yeah.
They like ended up walking into a quicksand pit.
At some point, yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well you can't move because the moving accelerates the quicksand. Yeah. So you need to just stay still and hope for the best.
So the best is like throw you a rope
and that was
jump
it.
in after you.
But no.
Apparently quicksand doesn't really move that fast.
Then why is it called quicksand?
I think it's just because you can essentially fall through it. I don't know. I don't know how it really works.
All I know is I've never come into contact with quicksand in my 31 years.
Yeah, me either. But I mean, I haven't gone on any really big adventures either, so.
No?
No. Not in this lifetime.
But that would be an awful way, because that's in essence being buried alive.
It is. It's being buried alive.
By yourself in sand.
In sand. And who knows how deep it goes, so you could just be falling for a really long time. And
but you'd suffocate though, yeah.
And then also at some point your body will just naturally gasp for air, which means at some point you're just going to eat a lot of sand.
Oh, I don't like being sandy. Uncomfortable.
I don't like being sandy.
You like going to the beach and being sandy.
No, but I mean, like, in terms of like, if my priorities, if I'm like just falling through sand and suffocating, I'm not like, oh, there's sand in my shoe. Because right now I'm like, oh, there's sand in my lungs.
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't like being sandy in my shoes. And you're not gonna be like sandy in my lungs.
No, probably not. But you can't breathe at that point. Your brain is shutting down due to lack of oxygen.
Well, I'm gonna remember. I don't like being sandy.
Oh my god. My final words. I don't like being sandy.
Don't like being sandy. I don't like it. Who likes it? It's very itchy.
I'm not a big fan. I mean, I don't really mind sand that much. It's just, I don't know. We went to the beach a lot when I was a kid.
No, I did too, but like I would then like wash off in the ocean.
It's not possible to do that.
You can get a lot of it off. I'd rather be salty from the ocean than sandy.
I used to hate that because as a kid, I would go in the ocean to like get the sand off, but then you immediately step out of the ocean.
Then you get your feet sandy.
Not just your feet.
How do you walk?
The sand sprays when you're walking.
Yeah,
and it
if
gets
you
all
walk
over your
carefully,
lower legs.
Then you wash the lower legs when you get to the non-sandy part.
You mean the ocean? What is the non-sandy
like,
part?
If you're like walking out of the beach, like maybe like you're going to your car or you're going to the house, whatever. You then like have a shower outside or like a shower at the front of the boardwalk, and you
had a shower outside.
The boardwalks, a lot of them, like the Sandy Hook one did in Point Pleasant. They have the little showers by the boardwalk and you wash your feet off.
I believe you. I mean, I know that they usually have those, but I never used to.
I never thought of this as a giant issue.
I just really didn't like coming back and having sand on my legs, but that's a whole another episode. What creeps me out?
Sandy legs.
Yeah, this creeps me out.
I have another really good buried alive story. I have a lot of them. I think it's so fascinating.
How many of them do you have?
I don't know. We're gonna see what happens.
We're gonna see what happens.
This one did not end so nicely as Angelo. Did not end.
They didn't turn around and invent a new coffin.
No. This is an account of Octavius Smith Hatcher.
Okay.
So in 1889, Octavius Smith married a very wealthy Kentuckian. His name was James Hatcher. The newlyweds had a son whom they named Jacob, but infant mortality rate was really high in the late 1800s, so Jacob unfortunately passed away. Losing her son, Octavia then went into a very deep depression, and she was bedridden for several months. During this time, she also began showing signs of a very mysterious illness. So, bedridden, illness. Eventually, her body entered a coma-like state, and nobody could awaken her. I do not know if they nipple tweaked or hot poked the butt.
Well, what year again was this?
1889.
Oh, I mean, she's right in there.
She is in that area.
Although the stethoscope was invented when, based off of Eugene?
1846.
So
but remember, he was laughed at for a few years, so they should have maybe used it in 1889.
Like 50 years
yeah,
later.
They should have used the stethoscope on her.
I hope so, for her sake.
But, unfortunately, she was pronounced dead in May of 1891, just 4 months after her son Jacob's death.
I was going to say just 4 months before her actual death.
So it was unusually hot in May that year, and she was buried very quickly. because of that.
Nobody wanted to be out in the heat.
No, they don't want to be out in the heat.
Octavia, can we make this faster?
Let's just move this along. And embalming was not a common practice yet. So another thing now to think about buried alive.
That's true.
Bodies are, most of the time now, at least in the States, are embalmed before being buried.
Yeah.
So
you
1889, not all bodies were embalmed. A few days later, though, others in the town began falling into a very similar coma-like state and had similar symptoms that Octavia was dealing with. Remember that mysterious illness that she had before she went into the coma, which had very shallow breathing patterns. So it looks like then that person's not breathing. But then they awaken a few days later. So that's not good.
Yeah, I'm assuming somebody's like, we should probably dig her ass out.
Yeah, it was an illness from a fly called the Tsetse fly. It's spelled Tsetse.
I thought you said the sex fly.
It's not the sex fly.
From the sex fly.
No, it's from
like, hey, baby.
Tsetse fly.
The too sexy fly.
Too sexy fly. So, fearing that she had been buried alive, her husband James panicked and had Octavia then exhumed.
God.
Thinking she might be awake in the coffin. That should be a good story, but no.
I mean, not really for
her. She had been awakened in the coffin, but James was too late. Octavia's coffin was airtight. He found the coffin lining had been shredded, and God. Octavia's fingernails were all bloody.
Oh.
On her face was a frozen, contorted shriek of terror.
Oh.
A traumatized James reburied his wife Octavia and then erected a lifelike monument of her that still sits in the cemetery to this day. Mm-hmm. And that James then went on to develop a very severe fear of being buried alive.
Understandable.
But wouldn't you do the same thing after witnessing what you saw?
I mean, of course, yeah.
And there was a lot of other stories that kind of related to kind of that same thing about being alive, that someone thought someone was dead, but they were really in a coma. And for me, always the scariest bit was then, like, how they found the people in the coffin.
And how many people they haven't found? Think about
that.
I
know, but, like, all the accounts mention kind of that shriek of the face, so that they were, like, screaming in horror as they were buried alive, which is horrifying. Like, imagine that you're just, like, alone underground and, like, screaming for help, nobody's coming, you're losing oxygen, because the more you're screaming too, you're using up more of your breath.
Yeah, and you're probably becoming more and more I can't think of the word, but like when you're starting to lose oxygen and you become, help me out here,
I'm forgetting the term too. But like,
it's exactly what's happening to us right now. I don't want to say delusional, but I guess delusional.
Yeah, you're just, things are making sense and you're getting more and more scared as well.
Yeah, and it's just understanding less and less of what's going on.
And it's frightening. And like another one like that happened to, her name was Anna, and this was in 1884. So a very kind of similar story, a hasty burial that they thought she died, but truthfully she was just kind of like, she like kind of fainted against the wall on this kitchen, and people were like, oh, she's not looking so good. And then they're like, oh wait, she looks lifeless. And then medical aid arrived. The doctor then assumed she was dead. They couldn't revive her. But then people were like, Anna's kind of like a pretty nervous person. And maybe she was just like, had a bad day and like, fainted. And she already had heart palpitations previously. Mm-hmm. So like maybe it was, compounding and what have you. But there was a hasty burial for Anna. But her friends saw that the tips of her ears were like still pink when the doctors took her away. And then that's like, oh,
I mean, yeah, the blood's still
flowing. So they then told her parents and were like, I don't think Anna's dead. So then her parents then went out, I think a couple days later, to the grave once they got word. She was buried the next day. The friends went and said, I'm a little concerned. They should have went earlier. Bad on the friends.
Yeah. Bad on the friends. I know she's buried already, but we were thinking about it.
We're just having a little think, and there were some pinks on those ears.
Yeah, pinks on those ears.
So they
a little powwow, and they
were like,
"Come talk to you."
They dug her up, and the worst case scenario, similar to Octavia, her body though was turned on its side, so that means like she was like writhing around in her coffin,
trying to get out,
and her fingers were gnawed to the bone, and her hair was torn out by the handfuls.
Oh my God.
So she had like many hours of panic attacks probably.
Yeah.
In the coffin, was trying to get out, couldn't. and then
realizing
died.
their fate. Nobody's
Yeah.
coming. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these accounts are like death of women in the 19th century, like late 19th.
It really is. Yeah.
And like there's another one like Mrs. Boger, 1893. She had hysteria. Her husband wanted to then dig her up, thinking like, I think something's wrong. I don't think she actually died. And then the same thing. Fingers were gone because she gnawed them off. Her shroud and robes were also like ripped to pieces because she was like trying to like pull at something. And
she probably felt really constrained.
Yeah, and there was also glass like on the top of the coffin, and she like was punching through the glass.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get it open.
Oh my God.
So those are just some of the accounts of the buried alive. But those ones really stuck out to me. I think it's just because it's a lot of like death of women in like the Victorian period, and everyone was just like, oh yeah, they look dead.
Yeah. Better throw that bitch in the ground.
Better that hasty. It's a hot day today.
It's a hot day. I don't want to be out here all day burying this lady.
So yeah, and I just think about kind of like that awful, contorted look in the coffin.
You know what's the worst way to get buried alive?
Quicksand?
Nope.
What?
If you go cave spelunking and get stuck.
Splunking?
Have you ever heard of this?
I've been in caves before, but I haven't.
I won't go in caves for this reason.
You don't go in a lot of places.
Well, look, I understand where I'm meant and to go and where
like
I'm not meant to go.
Like a sidewalk?
That's different. What do you mean a sidewalk?
Like, I mean, like, that's where you'll go. Because you can get eaten by alive in the woods by bears.
But, I mean, that's unlike, like, I won't go, like, on an African safari. Why? Because I don't go where hyenas and lions are just roaming free.
Bears.
Tigers, cheetahs.
Okay,
panthers.
so you then purposefully avoid.
I tend to avoid things where I can die, yes.
You could die anywhere.
I mean, yeah, but certain places, like what do I need to be doing in a cave that requires me to go in there?
The caves are beautiful.
In photos as well. You know, like, I don't need to see that shit in real life. Like, no thank you. I mean, people have, like, because sometimes people get, like, stuck in there and they suffocate, or like, they just get left there.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, like, and they're like, oh, we're going to come back and try and get you out. There was,
I know, like, years ago, like, the miners were stuck in the cave, and that is, like,
yeah, that happened.
Horrifying.
Yeah, like, there was this one guy, I can't remember, I feel like it's a really famous instance, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but it was, like, he was, like, just, like inches beyond rescue. Like, they just couldn't get to him, kind of thing.
Really?
And they had to, like, leave him there. Like, what do? You like, you can't, like, fire a gun and, like, be like, put them out of their misery, because that will just cause a cave-in. So you just have to, like, leave them there and be like, okay, we're going to leave you in the dark to, you know, suffocate or, you know, just starve to death here.
Oh my God.
I guess maybe if you starve a little, you can get back out. Maybe they should come back in a couple days.
I don't think that's how that works.
And maybe I should go spelunking. Maybe I can get skinny.
Oh my God.
I'll get stuck between some rocks. I'll be like, leave me here for 3 days. Don't bring me any water or anything. And then I will be able to get out
I can
on
just
my own.
lock you in your room.
I'll figure a way out.
I don't think you would.
I'll just eat my way through the wall.
So you'll eat your way through the cave.
I can't eat my way through rock.
You can find a way.
Maybe. But I think that one's terrifying. Like, the idea of being, like, stuck in between
That's
rocks.
terrifying.
Because that also leads into one of my other ones, which is...
Are you okay?
Yeah, I just punctured a hole through my paper, that's all. Crushed to death.
By what?
Anything. What do you mean by what?
Well, I don't
There's
know.
not great ways to be crushed to death.
Well, we already discussed the plane.
Yeah, but that's quick. I mean, like, crushed to death.
Oh, you mean like them putting like a stone on top of you?
Well, like, that was torture, but that's another one I have.
That was done in
Medieval.
Salem.
Oh, just kidding.
Well, probably medieval too. But
The whole medieval times is the worst way to die as well.
and when we went to Salem over the summer, they mentioned kind of like the deaths of the, you know, so-called witches.
Yeah.
And the one man that was deemed a witch, I think there was only one of them, they kept saying, like, you know, say your allegiance to the church, and he was just like, you know, like, fuck this, like, fuck you guys are just being awful. And
Can I just say something really quick?
go for it.
Those people are stupid for that. Even if if they were like, we're gonna put this really fucking heavy rock on you, unless you say that you are allied with the church, I'm like, they're my best fucking friend. I love the church. Pope, know him. He's a great guy. I turned to Trump real fucking fast. I know him very well. He's a big, big fan. Love him.
I think they were trying to make a stand, being like, because I mean, the Salem witch trials was all about like people.
It's great that they were going to try and make a stand, but they couldn't stand because he had a rock on him. So he should have just said, "You know what? You're right."
So you're saying lie until you can get away and then do what the fuck you want.
It's just it's common sense survival in my like you want the chance to fight another day, lie today, and then you won't get crushed by a stone, by some freaking hillbilly.
Well, he did, and it was a very slow, painful death because it's like we actually went to like this. It's weird. It's a church parking lot. Where they then...
Could you imagine? This will be an iconic site in history. It's a church park.
And it's like a gravel parking lot.
It's like that song by like Counting Crows or whatever.
Put up a church parking lot.
Poor guys.
They said like it was a very big stone. They just kept putting like more and more weight and it was like on his abdomen. And I was just thinking like the amount of pressure that must have been was awful.
Yeah, and that's slow, and then they're just yelling at you to like renounce Satan the whole time.
And you're like, no, best friend.
I would renounce him very quickly.
You would.
Wouldn't you?
I think I would. I think I'm
If
weak.
somebody was like, I'm going to crush you with this stone unless you say, I believe in the church or whatever, wouldn't you just be like, yeah, I believe in the church?
Yeah, I'm weak. So,
That's not weak. Yeah. You think
I'm
it's stronger to be like, put the stone on me?
I feel... No, I mean like weak in like that I would align with my... like morals or beliefs instead of taking death.
Okay. I mean, I would jump ship so fast. But my thing is like you don't actually have to jump ship.
You're right. You're just saying something and you don't have to
I would just
to believe
say
it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of a tangent. But I mean, I would just literally just be like, yeah, sure. And then I would like, they'd be like, okay, you can get up now. And they'd be like, awesome. And then
I don't know how that would go.
We'd all go to dinner because it's what you do after that.
You go to dinner after a stoning.
You have to have some kind
of
thing
some
afterwards.
Substance.
And then everybody needs a little bit something to eat.
Yeah.
Go to local pub. And then I'd go home. I'd be like, good night, Jeff. Thank you for not crushing me with the stone. And then
you say, I love Satan.
As I was shutting the door, I'm like, I love Satan. No, I would probably just pack a bag and leave. And then I'd be like, okay. No. Like, then die.
Bye.
I feel like that's a good way to avoid death, is if somebody gives you an escape clause,
I
take it.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Well, he didn't, and he died by a giant stone.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I would not like that. I would choose not to get crushed to death. But even like people who died in collapsed buildings from like earthquakes and stuff like
terrifying.
That's terrifying. And that's also buried alive. So that's a twofer. That's a crushed and buried.
Yep.
Don't like that at all.
I don't like that. No, I'm thinking about it.
Sorry, I don't have like any like examples. I'm just throwing ways at people like, are you listening to this right now? Here's a shitty way to die. Hold on, let me find another one.
I have
go ahead.
Awful way to die. Also, I mean, this is the topic, obviously.
Yeah.
But
is it awful or a worst?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So, as you know, and now listeners know, I think saints are fun.
Yeah.
Not that I am a Catholic who believes in said saints, but I think the belief in saints throughout history is the bee's knees. Academic, historical perspective. Yeah. I think it's the bee's knees. I think it's fascinating. And I think saints are the coolest thing because it's insane. So, I have 2 interesting saint stories. I have a ton other, but I won't bore you with all of them. So did you know, Robert, that there is a Saint Corona?
You know I didn't know this. Because I don't know jack shit about anything. I'm too busy being afraid I'm going to get hit by a plane. So...
Well, Saint Corona was...
The patron saint of viruses?
No, but she is now.
The patron saint of quick tests. What are they? Rapid tests?
Rapid tests.
PCR tests?
PCRs. No, so many 100 years ago, this is when they believe Saint Corona was around. She then was assisting somebody who was then being, like, martyred that they were a Christian. So then she was, like, defending them.
Okay.
And saying, like, no, don't kill them. And she was saying that she's also aligning herself with Christ. And then she sees this vision of a crown. Well, the Latin word for crown is corona.
Okay.
So then that's where you get her name from, right? You see the Latin crown, then she's gifted the name Corona as her kind of like patron saint, Catholic name. But the way that she's killed is not fun. So obviously, because she's a Christian.
Oh. Okay.
So there's big persecution against Christians throughout history.
God, I'm surprised that the Republicans haven't grabbed onto this.
Oh,
Corona.
all saints.
Well, but specifically with Corona.
So, Saint Corona, she had a previous name before she was then canonized, but the way that they killed her was they bent down 2 trees. So you're bending down 2 trees and tying them to the ground, so you're creating this giant bend of force.
No.
Yeah. They tied her body on left side to one tree, the right side to another tree, and then they cut the rope that the trees were then attached to the ground. So then it's creating this force that it's then shooting the trees back up to their position, which is then opposite directions, is then shooting her limbs in opposite directions with extreme force. So she is in essence split in half.
Oh, God. Jesus.
Yeah. That's not fun.
Do you think it's like a wishbone situation? Do you think they were like, I think the left side's going to get the head?
See, when you said wishbone, I was like, what's the story? Wishbone.
I was thinking of like the turkey wishbone. Do you think they were like left side gets her head, then Jeff wins?
You know, I would not put it past some people who like thought up these crazy, killings to like be like, let's play this game.
And as soon as it was all done, some guy with a hot poker was like, I'll make sure she's dead.
Yep. Let me tweak that nipple.
Do you wanna tweak the left or the right nipple?
They probably have a fight over that.
Which I do think is still alive.
But so she was split in half, and which is awful, probably extremely painful. And so saints have this thing throughout history where their group that often will pray to that saint is often tied to how they were killed. So
they like tied themselves to trees?
No, being like lumberjacks and treasure hunters worship Saint Corona.
Okay.
Lumberjacks because the trees were bent down.
Yeah.
Treasure hunters because she saw the vision of the crown. Saint Sebastian, who was killed by archers, patron saint of archers.
I mean, really?
Yeah. See, it's a little bit problematic.
It's also a little dumb. I feel like if somebody, like, if I died, like if a whale jumped on me, I wouldn't want to be the patron saint of whales.
I would make that happen for you, though.
I don't want that. Especially because at my weight, everybody would think it was just a fat joke. So.
But like this is historically kind of like how this happens. Yeah. So, but for many years, people were not praying to Saint Corona because no one even knew she really existed. She was not a very popular saint.
I didn't know until right now that she was a thing.
But in March of 2020, when the COVID pandemic was really hitting, it's like starting to get very, very popular. People were talking more about it. That's when people were looking for a saint to pray to because they were looking for assistance with the virus. And they realized there was a Saint Corona already.
That is stupid.
The name matches the current name of the virus, being Corona, because of the crown shape of the virus.
Yeah.
And people started praying to Saint Corona.
What if she saw into the future and saw the virus?
I doubt that. But, okay.
It could be.
Okay.
You don't know.
Catholic...
You didn't see the vision. She did.
The vision of a crown.
Maybe she saw a crown-shaped
virus. I don't think they knew what microscopic bacteria
they did, which is what would make it even more creepy.
Well, this could be the book you write.
I'm not writing a book. I don't got time for that. We'll just put the idea out there for one of you.
But Catholic prayer card companies had to start printing Saint Corona cards in 2020, stupid. And it's sold out so quickly.
That was like when people went buy Corona beer or whatever because of the virus.
But this is like historically though how like saints have been venerated. It's that they're looking for somebody during a time of struggle, and then they realize that this saint could do that for them, and they pray to that saint, and that saint talks to God, and this is how it works. Dun 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 dun. Boom.
That's stupid.
That is the very simplified version of saint veneration. If you want to learn more, read Richard Mark's book. It's a great time. Image and Devotion.
Oh my God. For all three of you who will go and do that. The rest of us were like, I'll take your word for it.
But I learned this the other day, and I am amazed that I did not know about this story from St. Nicholas.
Like Santa?
Yes, like Santa. Have you heard of the story of the pickled boys?
Yeah, all the time. I talk about this. No, I've never heard the story of pickled boys.
So another really, really bad way to die.
Is to be pickled?
Yeah. So this is one of the legends of St. Nicholas. So before St. Nicholas becomes part of the story, there are 3 boys. Sometimes they're just called 3 youths or like 3 little scholars.
Okay, 3 little scholars.
3 little scholars. They're walking about a town and they ask for directions. And they ask directions from a butcher. The butcher then brings them inside, kills them, and chops them up into little pieces. And then puts them into pickling barrels.
You know, to be fair, if he's planning on eating them, that is a good way to save the harvest and, you know, make sure that...
he has some for later.
It has some for
the
cold months. Yeah. I can't believe we both...
We're like, the cold months.
I don't think I've ever met anybody else who would have at the same time said the cold months. But work. Okay.
You're good company.
Right?
So,
what do you think his pickle company name would be? Dill?
It's too simple.
I mean, what were I guess they were the 3 youths, the scholars. I don't have a joke.
I don't know. It's like 3 little dicks. I don't know.
Little dicks. Oh my god. Moving right along.
So, the 3 boys are pickled. And then comes along St. Nicholas walking through the town. And he has this like vision or understanding that these 3 boys are chopped up and like pickled in these barrels in this butcher shop.
You tell somebody that without being immediately taken into medical care.
You're like, I sense this. It's happening nearby. So he goes in. He then like waves his hands, and the 3 boys emerge fully formed out of the pickling barrels.
Okay.
So he like resurrected them, and this was a really popular story in the Middle Ages. And there's like manuscripts that I've been looking at that have like this image of like Saint Nicholas reviving the pickled boys.
That is bizarre.
Isn't it? It's insane. But like this is
and
also Santa.
Christmas. Yeah, he's Santa.
So I would much rather, I think, celebrate Christmas and then talk about the pickling boy story.
That is weird.
It's weird, right?
What was it like? What's the story really based in?
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean based on?
Because to me, this kind of relates to our previous episode with urban legends.
Well, I mean, you could make a claim that a lot of saint stories are based on, like, legends. They're all...
I do make a lot of claims that a lot of saint stories are urban legends. But, like, where... There must be some weird story somewhere written down that actually happened that is, like, some dude chopped up boys.
So it could have been that, like... You're right. It could have been like a local story that maybe someone heard about this happening, and they maybe then attributed it to Saint Nicholas or something.
Imagine if there was a serial killer today who pickled people.
What would we call him?
Peter the Pickler.
Peter the Pickler.
What's the?
Would it be kosher, dill, half sour?
I guess that depends on him. But
I like a half sour.
I prefer dill pickles.
Okay.
But what's that tongue twister?
Peter Piper pick a pickle.
That would be his serial killer name. He'd be Peter Piper.
Is it Peter Piper? No. Now I'm wondering.
Peter Piper picked a pickled pepper. I don't know. It's Peter Piper though.
Okay.
Anyway.
Are we just? I hope no one listening gets inspired because it's disgusting.
But if you do, just know that your serial killer name throughout history will be Peter Piper, and that's really embarrassing. So,
but I would want to know though, like what type of pickling. That is actually that's
maybe they like different kinds.
Oh, like they're just getting ready for the different flavors of the future months.
Yeah, and you got to put pickle crisp in there to really keep everything crispy because otherwise
for the cold months.
Well, yeah. Well, you know how like after a while, after pickles have been
I don't like them soft.
Yeah, you have to put pickle crisp in.
What's a pickle crisp?
It's something for when you pickle.
But what is a pickle crisp?
It's like, I don't know, it's like a little, like, you buy it and you put it in the jar.
You're just describing the action of putting something in.
I don't know what it is. It's like a preservative, I guess.
Okay.
Because it keeps it crispy. Hence,
I hate a soggy pickle.
A soggy pickle? All pickles are soggy.
No.
Even the crispy
like
ones.
A waterlogged one. I don't.
You mean a soft pickle?
Yeah.
Nobody likes a soft pickle.
Everybody
likes a nice firm pickle.
But there must be people out there who are just like, I like it when it's like woozy.
Flaccid. Nobody likes a flaccid pickle.
I love a half sour. I've been very into pickles recently. But I don't know if it was inspired by reading the St. Nicholas story or if it was just like I was just craving pickles.
I would really hope that you didn't read that and like, oh, I want a pickle now.
I'm going to go for a pickle right now.
It really is a pickle. Oh my god.
Well, that to me, I would hate to die by being pickled.
By being pickled, that is a terrible way to die, especially because the brine is so salty. So you're drowning, which is a terrible way to die, and then your body just inevitably starts gasping in large amounts of vinegar and salt and...
I imagine, like, your eyes would be one of the first things to go. I don't know why. Like, the little jelliness.
That makes sense.
You want to test it out?
No, not particularly. I did write down serial killer murderer, but I feel like that's so overdone. But being murdered would be terrible. I think that's
definitely,
worst way
especially
to die. Because it's scary.
Fear, and then if there's like a slow torture involved in it, it'd be awful. I mean, none of these are nice.
No, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, I mean, the theme of the episode is worst ways to die. Right. So,
I have one that I don't think you thought of.
Okay.
I recently watched a movie on Netflix called Don't Look Up.
Oh, I have not seen it yet.
Oh, but I mean, any of the, like, Deep Impact, anything like that. I think the concept of the planet getting hit by an asteroid or a comet is terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. I used to have a very, very big fear of the sun exploding.
I did too.
Yeah.
Because they, when we were like little, I don't know why people tell kids these things. It's really fucked up. Like, people be like, did you know one day the sun is going to explode? And
all I could think about.
Earth?
And I'm just like, when is it going to happen in my lifetime? Should I even have children? Because is the sun going to explode in their lifetime? Like, I blame education systems when we were kids because I think it developed my anxieties.
They did, because they like to tell kids shit like that, but don't tell kids that.
Yeah.
Because they think it's going to happen tomorrow night. Because that's the other thing. It's always, well, when is it going to happen? Hoping that you're going to be like...
You're like far in the future.
Yeah, they're like, well, it could happen tomorrow. It could happen 1,000,000 years from now. Well, you just opened the door that it can happen tomorrow.
And that's what starts the Klonopin.
Yeah. Well, so here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Because aside from the fact that obviously there's like fire and everything else when a comet hits the planet.
Oh, sure.
Now... my question for you is, let's say they said tomorrow, they're like, there is a comet who's going to, it's a planet killer.
Okay.
It's going to hit the Earth. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's going to hit, wherever, right?
So but the entire planet's going to be destroyed.
Well, no matter what, that's what happens. But it's not like, so now, do you want to be in the impact zone or no?
So the impact zone means that you're just going to immediately die from it, like the impact. Just the sheer force of it.
Theoretically, yes.
What does it do to the other areas? Like the fire? Is it like what happens?
Well, generally, depending on where it hits. I mean, because here's the thing. Like, depending on how big it is, it can send pieces of the planet into space.
So, Earth part of it could just be spiraling in space.
Well, no, like when the impact happens... It's like, you know, like, it's like the force of, like, a bomb.
Yeah.
It will literally, like, rip through the crust and, like, whatever, create a crater, all that fun stuff. But it explodes out, and it can go it can go out back into space, like, parts of the Earth. Like, parts of the crust and land and everything.
Which I'm assuming people don't survive on that little passage.
I would assume not. Generally speaking, human beings don't survive in space.
Well, I don't know if, like, there's still...
you're, like, sitting there in, like, an astronaut suit, like, ready for the comet.
Well, I don't know if there's, like a little... Is it enough of a piece that, like, there's just an atmosphere that can form around it? I don't know science.
No. It's, like, imagine, like, just, like, pieces of crumbled up land being shot into space.
That would be awful. I don't like space.
But that's not the only way you die in that situation. You could get hit by the comet itself. Which,
not fun.
I mean, obviously...
But that's quick, though.
Is it? I guess it would be, but, like...
Okay, Rob, it's larger than a plane.
Well, yeah, but my point is it's kind of like... It would be quick, but...
Yeah.
Like, okay, so here's my thing. This is a question I have.
Okay.
Because people talk about death being, like, instantaneous in certain cases.
Okay.
But, like, death still has to, like, occur. Do you get what I'm saying?
No.
So, like, no matter what, even if it's instantaneous, it still has to occur. Something has to happen to you for death to occur.
Maybe you hit your head really bad, you have a heart attack.
But death in and of itself is not instantaneous.
It's quick.
But do you feel it?
I don't know.
Do you feel what it is to get hit by a comet in that moment? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, like, even though it's quick, fast, do you feel...
Before death occurs... Do you feel getting hit by a comet?
Okay, I'd rather get hit by a comet.
Would you?
Than slowly lose oxygen or something like that and, like, struggle to survive that way.
What do you mean?
I'm assuming, like, if the world is, like, broken up.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the whole, because, like, only, like, the impact area where, like, because, like, it turns into, like, an explosion. So the comet hits.
Yeah.
And essentially, like, molds into the planet. But then, like, pieces of where it hit get shot up because it's an explosion. Mm-hmm. So they get shot up and it can go as high and out into space. So it's just that area. It's not like the whole planet breaks up.
Oh, that's what I was asking. So I was like, if the whole planet breaks up.
No, I mean, I don't think that.
So
I mean,
what happens to the rest of the planet?
Well, the rest of the planet gets hit with a shockwave. And then it's usually shown like that, like some big fiery, like, shockwave looking type thing engulfs the entire planet.
Well, that sounds like a lack of oxygen and fiery death.
I mean, yeah, and then there's tsunamis and stuff like that, but...
See, that sounds absolutely terrifying and like a non-stop thrill ride of fear.
I mean, I agree, but then the question is it better to go through that than to feel what it's like to get hit by a comet?
I'd rather get hit by a comet.
I feel like I would too, but then I'm like, what if it's not instantaneous? What if it hits just enough to my left?
Okay, I think you could then, like, look up then how... Like, if people get hit head-on by other things, too. Like, not a comet, but, like, if a giant rock falls on you from a mountaintop, how quick is that death?
I'm sure it's quick. The problem that I'm having is because death in itself is not instantaneous, do you feel it?
There must be, I think, like, a millisecond, right, of something, of, like, feeling. But I'm assuming when something this big hits you... It's gonna be very quick. Like, your body's not gonna, like, slow down and try to, like, heal itself.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, because the thing is, like, if you get hit by a comet, like, you get crushed, obviously, because it's, it's a comet.
Yeah.
So...
You're not coming back from that.
Do you feel getting
know.
Crushed?
If it's really quick? Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know how I feel about this, Candace.
I'm gonna... definitely go with Comet Crusher than, like, Tsunami Fire Sandwich.
But I feel like you could survive.
No.
You don't?
I don't think I could. I don't think I have that in me.
I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, it's highly unlikely that you'd survive any of this. But, I don't know. In my mind, I guess maybe it's the survival aspect. I don't know. Like,
you are always, like, you're like, I can be the final girl.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think you have that, like, though, in you that you're like...
You know what? You have to believe in yourself, Candace.
Okay, I'm going to pickle you.
In a comet situation, where in the event that our planet gets hit by a comet, I do think I can survive.
See, I think, if we talk about things, like, maybe more out of this world, like alien attack, which, I'm deathly afraid of.
That I can't survive.
See, I don't think I'd survive either.
No,
I think I'd be, like, one of the first ones to go. Like, if it was, like, a
world
world of war situation.
I don't think I'd be, like, a first one out. Like, I'm not a pork chop.
I think it'd be pretty quick. Oh.
No, I think I'm more of, like... I feel like I could make it really far, but I'm not getting out.
No, I think, like, they would land. I would be very scared.
You're Harvey Fierstein in Independence Day. When he's sitting in the car and the firewall comes down, he's just like, oh, fuck. Whatever he says, that's how you die in an alien attack.
I would not, it'd be, like, I would not have that final girl energy to be, like, jumping from, like, basement to hide. I don't have that.
I feel like what you really need in a survival situation is some FOMO. Because if you die, you miss out on everything else.
No, like, I think... For example, zombie apocalypse. I think I would do quite well.
I think it depends on the zombie.
Well, obviously. If it's a slow-moving zombie, we're all going to be fine.
If it's a Johnny's got the keys kind of zombie, I'm fine.
Walking Dead zombie, I don't think I would do so hot.
Are they runners?
They run and they like kind of like they don't stop. Like you can they can lose a leg and they're still going.
No, I'm not a fan.
No.
The running zombies are a problem.
And they climb.
And that's another eaten alive. Don't like that.
And I think that's the worst way because the teeth aren't that sharp.
Yeah, they're like, yeah. And the thing I never understood about zombies is that they want brains, but then they'll just like eat an arm or something.
Well, only some zombies are like the brains.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of them are just like
That's
just
true.
flesh.
They're kind of cannibalistic.
But the thing is, though, I think I would obviously be very scared of zombie attack, but I think I would be able to fight. Oh, I would try.
I mean, you could definitely survive for at least a while.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on whether or not you get overwhelmed by them.
Well, yeah. But, like, I'm thinking, like I can hide.
Yeah. My thing with zombies is that theoretically you should be able to outlast them because they'll starve.
Unless they're being fed.
By what?
I don't know. If they, like, find a really great feasting area and people are really slow.
Yeah, but then don't go there.
No, you go
Stay
to
out of
go
crowds.
to the country.
Yeah, you start a farm. You go grow shit. And
You pickle.
you can pickle. You can pickle zombies.
That's hygienic.
That's the other. So I did write another one down.
Go for
I
it.
have one more worst way to die, aside from being crushed by a comet, which I do think would be terrible.
I don't like that one.
To fall into a volcano in lava.
Also had a fear of volcanoes as a kid.
I still have a fear of volcanoes.
When we went to Maui for our honeymoon, I was like, what if this dormant volcano decides to go off right now?
What are you gonna fucking do?
Like, even, like, you go to the water. No, it's not safe.
Yeah. It'll just boil.
Yeah.
That actually happened to a group of people.
Wait, are you thinking about that movie?
Mm-mm.
Oh, no?
This is a real story. There was a group of people, they went to, there was like a dormant volcano type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it had like a minor eruption one day, or like a bigger, like it erupted at some point, like unexpectedly.
Okay.
And I think people died.
Huh.
I think like the group, like we saw like from the group who like just left of the other people going on, and a whole bunch of them, I think like a bunch of them died. But yeah, like it does happen.
There was that movie, it could have just been called Volcano when we were kids. It was something like that.
With Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche.
Yep.
In LA.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. I've seen
That's
that.
the one.
It's called Volcano. Yeah.
And there's like the scene where some of them are gonna like go skinny dip in this one like area.
That's Dante's Peak.
Oh. Well, I don't know. I just remember this was one scene in a volcano movie where they were gonna go in the water, and then they're like, "Oh, this is fun," and then they go in and they boil alive.
Fun fact: I was gonna mention this. A guy boiled alive he boiled alive to death. He boiled to death while he was alive in Yellowstone.
No.
Yeah, in one of the hot springs. Yeah.
Why don't you get out?
He couldn't. He fell in, and it's so hot. Like his body dissolved within like a matter of like a couple days. Like that's how hot they are. Have you ever been to Yellowstone?
I don't think so.
I just went obviously last year, like late last year, like in September or October. When did we go?
September, I think.
It was for Jess's birthday, so it was late September. But it's funny because in Yellowstone, there are these, and like for those of you who don't know, Yellowstone is a super volcano. So when you walk around Yellowstone, you're actually walking through.
Wait, really? I didn't know it was a volcano.
You didn't know it's a volcano?
No.
You don't know this?
No.
Wow, Candace, you're like the last one. It's a
last one.
It's a super volcano.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not even just like a volcano; it's a super volcano.
Define super volcano.
Like fucking big.
You know, you should write
like,
textbooks.
I should. I get the point across. No, like it's like literally like I'm gonna use like the wrong terminology here, so somebody's gonna get mad at me. But I guess like the caldera or whatever it is, like the part like that you can like, because like some places like they like when it's dormant, like you can walk through it.
Okay.
In this case, like I'm probably saying this wrong. All I know is that where Yellowstone is, like the park itself. The reason why there's so much volcanic activity is because it's like the caldera, I think, or whatever.
My gosh.
Yes, so like where you're walking around, like those the clay and like the mud that like boils, like because there's first of all, it smells like ass. The sulfur
sulfur?
is oh my god, is it terrible?
I didn't know that.
It's the smell is so bad. Yeah, and like Old Faithful is from volcanic activity.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and it's also very impressive. I did see that in person.
You were impressed?
I was. It was pretty cool. I'll give it that. But what was I gonna say?
Volcano?
Yeah, but with Yellowstone. Oh, you can walk through like the volcanic areas, and they put like these boardwalks down, but you're not allowed to step off of them. And this was the case of this poor guy. Well, I mean, to be fair, he purposefully stepped off, which this happens all the time. People get like scalding burns and stuff like that because they don't listen. But they tell you, and it's actually kind of freaky. Like you'll see signs from the boardwalk that'll be like, if you step off, theoretically speaking, we can't guarantee that like where you step, you won't like fall through.
What?
Yeah, and like into like little
volcanic ash?
Well, no. Like it's like you would fall into like a hot spring or like something like that, like through, because like imagine there's like a pool in front of you.
Okay.
and it's a hot spring, but then like the area around it is like very like chalky looking usually, and
Oh.
like that kind of thing. So like sometimes people get off the boardwalks because they're idiots and they walk around there, but like theoretically underneath the ground, because of the vents and everything like that, they can be a little unstable, so you can like fall through and
Oh
in.
my God.
Yeah, it's like ugh, not fun. But yeah, it's really crazy. Like, and you can see like the steam coming off of like the water. It looks like a boiling pot of water
That
in a lot
is
of cases.
terrifying. I
Yeah.
don't want to go there.
Yeah, and this guy fell into one.
Nope.
Yeah, and like his sister tried to get him out and she couldn't. It was like,
I think I'd leave you there.
yeah, and to be fair, there's nothing really you can do. You're gonna, because like with this guy, they recommend, and he used, I'm assuming, Celsius. It has to be Celsius because apparently at like 40 some odd degrees is like where they recommend you shower, and the pool itself was like at 90 something degrees.
Oh my God.
Yes, that should tell you how hot it was, and he like fell in.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, so like
Okay, that may be one of the worst ones that we discussed today. That
Yeah.
that
Well,
freaks
even
me
just
out.
like falling in lava.
Nope.
Like, okay, back to my question from before with the comet.
Go for it.
If you fall in lava, that's not an instantaneous death
No,
necessarily.
that's not. That's slow.
If you fall into lava, do you like okay,
You feel it, yeah.
Well, besides feeling it, but like here's my question to you. Is it like water where you fall beneath the surface, or is it dense enough that you fall on top of it?
Well, I'm thinking like when you see volcanic eruptions and they have like the rocks are like kind of like falling into it.
Yeah.
I imagine that's what it's like. It's like you are dense enough, but you are falling into it, and then I imagine like kind of like you're being put in jello, like you're absorbed by it.
Okay.
And then you're melting into it.
Because I'm curious if it was like
That's
more
how
of like
I
a
envision.
watery situation, like where you fall in and then like you like
You go
fall
down.
under and like splash back up and
See,
like.
I imagine it's like a Ring of Mordor situation. The ring is in there, and then it gets completely enveloped.
Well,
by
because
it,
like
and then
Gollum
it's-
literally like falls in and then
It's Gollum.
yeah, like he kind of like on his face goes below the surface. I was like
There you
lava's
go.
really fucking hot, man.
That's how Gollum. So we went.
Yeah, but I don't really necessarily think that that's probably scientifically accurate.
Oh, I'm gonna go
That
with yes.
depiction
Thank
of
you, Peter
Gollum
Jackson, of
falling.
Gollum falling into the lava pit.
I don't know if that's exactly the
I think
scientific way.
that's science.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the boiling pit. Not one of my top ways I want to go.
It's definitely not new. Out of all of these, ironically, I do think the one way I would probably be most okay with is getting hit by a comet. Because it probably would be the
And
fastest.
also, like, everyone else is gonna go the same, like, similar way, or, like, have another thing, so there's no FOMO there.
I mean, true.
This is what I'm thinking of.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine getting hit by a comet.
Okay, I think I could think more about the comet than the boiling pit.
The boiling pit is bad.
That's really bad.
Yeah. Or like a bad earthquake in the earth opening and you falling in.
Mm-mm.
Like what happens there?
Oh,
Like,
also,
what happens?
last one I want to discuss. If, like, a gravity situation where you are, like, spinning through space and you're just not, you're going there until you completely lose oxygen.
Oh, I mean, I guess that one doesn't necessarily scare me as much.
I think it'd be awful.
I don't think it would be great, but like, here's my thing. So if first of all, if you're spinning through space, I don't think you really have to worry about your oxygen going first as much as probably freezing to death, because at some point, if
You're
that
cold.
system
I'd be
fails,
vomiting because I'm spinning.
That's fair. Probably. Although, I guess without a center of gravity, would that cause you to vomit? Or would it just feel like you're going over and over?
I think my visual would fuck it up if I was looking.
I wonder if there's a way to stop yourself from spinning.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
No, I think you're done. To spin to death in
I mean,
space.
at the very least, the nice thing about space is that everything is really far apart. So it's not like, what are you going to like drift into, like a planet?
No, but you're just gonna be spinning until you die.
I mean, true. But
That's awful.
Is it?
Yes.
In all of the things that we've talked about, just spinning until you die
I wouldn't like it.
is not that bad.
I wouldn't like it.
I wouldn't like any of these. There's not like, I'm not like, oh, a sinkhole sounds like fun.
Yeah.
But like if I had to pick between like getting eaten alive,
If you had to
falling into
pick
a volcano.
If you had to pick one of these and you're like, that's the one I'm going to go with.
Oh, I'm getting hit by a comet.
The comet?
Yeah. I mean, that's going to happen the fastest, right?
I think so, yeah.
What about, here's one. Nuclear bomb.
Oh, terrified.
There's a website.
No, I know. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I'm so scared of it.
For all of you, it's like, there's a website where you can like look up like different bombs and like put in like a location of like where it hits to see how far out it goes. And we are close enough to New York City that if a nuke went off in New York,
I know,
we would get hit with it.
Oh, I know.
Which I didn't think we were that close, but I guess we are.
We're very close to the city.
I mean, I guess so. It doesn't feel like we are. But we are in the suburbs.
If there's
of New
no
York.
traffic to the city, it could take us 25 to 30 minutes to get in.
But see, like, to me, that's like a long time when you're driving. Like, how many miles is that?
It's not that long.
I know. I believe you. I'm just saying.
No, but like, it takes me to go to work, which is a few towns over. It takes me 20 minutes to drive there.
That's true.
So, like, if we drove to the city, no traffic, which never going to happen, but it's like 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
That's not bad. I mean, it is close enough, obviously, but it doesn't feel like it is. But I mean, we can see it from like.
That used to do the irrational fear for me when I worked in the city. I kept thinking about nuclear
I don't
attacks.
know that that's that irrational. You know, like, because unfortunately, New York being so popular that I feel like if any place was going to get hit by like a nuke, it would be.
Time to move to Maine, Rob.
I mean, yeah, nobody's going to nuke Maine.
Well, I think it's time for me to have another hard cider
Yeah.
and just to sit and stare at the wall for a few hours.
You don't want to think about getting hit by a comet anymore? Or getting sucked into a meat grinder?
I don't work with meats.
I mean, me either, but, you know, there's other
I did
factory things.
learn yesterday 'cause for this exhibit we're doing if books could kill you. And you can die by, like, poison and all that stuff from, like, arsenic and pigments and stuff.
Yeah.
But with the printing press, even to this day when people are, like, doing book production, these are giant printing press machines and people have gotten, like, pulled into them.
That's a terrible way to die.
Terrible.
That's a terrible way to die.
And that whole book is ruined.
Oh, that's what you're worried about?
No, it's awful. People lose limbs, fingers, but they also can die from heart attacks while getting sucked into the machine. It's terrifying.
I would hope.
Factory machinery is so scary.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody takes that job, if I'm honest. I can't do it. I have had so many nightmares where I get pulled into something.
I hope you never have a factory job.
I will never have a factory job. Because I would be afraid every single day of my life. Oh.
Well, I think that's enough for one day.
Yeah.
That I think you can go take an edible and I will just stare into the abyss.
Stare into the abyss. That's what we do when we're not recording. Just stare at the wall.
You call me, time to record, I stop staring, come back.
And I'm like, the high's gone before I get my next one. Want to record an episode?
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Creepy crawlers? I don't know, I'm just gonna shit that out there.
We're workshopping.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Try not to die in any of these ways.
Yeah, comet, whale, quicksand, volcano, boiling water, being pickled.
Being pickled is a bad one.
Stabbed in the stomach, that's a scary one.
Yeah, try not to have a sinkhole open up under your house.
Or be buried alive.
Yeah, don't step in any quicksand.
Remember, hot poker up the ass, tweak the nipple.
Yeah. Ask yourself if you want somebody to do that to see if you're still living, because you don't. So, I don't know where I'm going with this joke. It's time to go. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. One of the worst ways to die, drowning. For the first several seconds after water is inhaled, the drowning person is in a state of fight or flight as they struggle to breathe. As the airway begins to close to prevent more water from getting into the lungs, the person will start to hold their breath involuntarily. This takes place for up to 2 minutes until they lose consciousness. The person becomes unconscious. During this stage, they can still be revived through resuscitation and have a good chance at a good outcome. Breathing stops, and the heart slows. This can last for several minutes. The body enters a state called hypoxic convulsion. This can look like a seizure. Without oxygen, the person's body appears to turn blue and may jerk around erratically. The brain, heart, and lungs then reach a state beyond where they can be revived. This final stage of drowning is called cerebral hypoxia, followed by clinical death.